But I'd like to begin with my favorite Florida food story. This is one of the better stories, and it relates to my favorite Florida character, James Billy. James Billy and I are the same age, and when he returned from Vietnam, to his astonishment, he was elected chair of the Seminole tribe. Feeling that he lacked the experience and confidence to lead this impoverished tribe into the modern era, he asked an elderly medicine man, "What must I do to win the confidence of my people?" And the medicine man said, "You must first go out and capture, kill, and eat a Florida panther," which he proceeded to do and was promptly arrested for killing an endangered species. James Billy pleaded that it was a religious purification ceremony on sovereign land, and in fact was acquitted. And as he's stepping out of the courthouse in Fort Lauderdale, hundreds of journalists are there. And what's the first question they asked him? "What does panther taste like?" He said, "It tasted like a cross between manatee and bald eagle." Thank you. I'll be at the Improv Club tonight. You've been a wonderful crowd. But I'm actually going to talk about tasting manatee and bald eagle, which Floridians do. I'm going to begin this with an unusual flourish. So you're going to have to stick with me for a couple minutes while I get this over. It's to set the scene. Hurtling across the planet at warp speed is a Death Star. And the Earth has 24 hours before a climactic last final act. Astrologists and astronomers both are predicting that the Death Star will hit landfall at the happiest place on Earth, Disney World. And Tomorrowland is closed until further notice. What you have to imagine is this is a happy moment, not a sad moment. That you're 85 years old, you've lived a good, honorable life. So this is not like your death row Rayford moment. This is a happy moment. So you can conjure up all your food memories that made your life more interesting, more livable. And you don't have to worry about cholesterol or carb loading. You can have one great Florida fantasy feast. So I've taught food history a couple times. I always like to ask students to do this for their first assignment. You have one page. What is your ultimate Florida food fantasy? Well, here are two of my food fantasies, two different groups, and see if you know where I'm going with this. Behold Florida's cornucopia. No one, not the most unpardonable denizen at Rayford's Green Mile or the most fashionable fashionista at Miami Beach can resist Florida's Last Supper. A garden of earthly delights awaits diners, to say the least. Okay, boughs laden with Mineola tangerines, Pine Island mangoes, Jupiter Island jackfruit, all cascade over the table. Belglade lettuce, Oviedo celery, Immokalee radishes, Sanford celery hearts, Wauchula cucumbers, topped with Don Quixote's beloved Manchego cheese, aged in Jackson County's limestone caverns, enshrine the salad bowl. The main course now begins. Free-range spring hens, raised and freshly dressed in Mazaric Town, lightly dusted with flour and Himalayan sea salt, are sacrificed to the gods of sizzling lards. A culinary obligato, a fighting rooster pilau, pronounced purloo in St. Augustine, combines cypress rice grown on Rice Creek outside Palatka, a stewed over-the-hill Key West gamecock, glisten yellow by saffron, harvested from the birthplace of Pedro Menendez in Asturias, Spain. To mollify barbecue purists and avoid fisticuffs, spits of Okeechobee raised beef and Hamilton County pork roast slowly over oak embers that had once planked the Spanish Armada and had been concocted into barbecue embers. The aroma of hot rising yeast roast made from wheat kernels discovered in ancient Mission San Luis and ground cellar and ground into wheat At the Chipley Grist Mill on Hard Labor Creek, the smell wafts through the air of hot rising rolls. Slices of frost-proof orange and Greenville watermelon, a Bonifay yam casserole, and Isla Morada key lime pie. The latter garland with frangipani blossoms, the former liberally soaked in pure cane syrup, squeezed and refined at Fort Lonesome, all complement the all Florida food fantasy. A bottle of Castillo Red Rioja grapes grown on the St. Sebastian vineyards in St. Augustine, a glass of rum distilled from Peace River Valley sugar cane, a Mantigo Batida blended at Robert Is Here fruit stand in Homestead complement and complete this Florida feast. Stay hungry, my friends. Now, the point here is this feast was made possible by powerful forces that created La Florida and New Spain, Florida, and the modern world. Every single ingredient, from the larded pie crust to the sprigs of hibiscus, from the saffron rice cooked in a cast iron cauldron to the rooster's cockcomb and the hog descended from DeSoto's herd, originally came from somewhere else, especially the cooks and diners. And this is the story of my talk today, how wheat, milk, and sugar, pigs, chickens, and cows, Spanish friars, African slaves, and Romanian Jews came to Florida is a stirring story combining tragedy and romance, pleasure and pain. Seventh generation St. Augustinians, as well as transplants to Del Boca Vista, can still take pride in knowing that an all Florida Last Supper feast, consisting of indigenous ingredients with deep roots in the New World, is equally seductive. So here's my all Florida pre-1513 food lineup. Cracked Indian key conch, fresh shrimp seine from the Anastasia Island flats, Apalachicola oysters harvested by the Ward brothers, the hardest working brothers in the seafood business, steamed Steinhatchee clams, buttonwood smoked mullet caught near Cortez, octopus plucked from Anclo Key and freshly grilled, Gasparilla Island grouper cheeks flash fried, broiled pompano plucked from Panther Key and deboned by the last surviving waiter from the legendary Las Novedades restaurant in Ybor City. Corn-fed, farm-raised, deep-fried Cape Coral catfish, yes, the one famed instant city of the 1950s, fell to the great mortgage collapse of the 21st century, and its canals have been replaced by catfish ponds. Roasted wild turkey from Vernon Pine Flats, stuffed with pond apples, fresh-picked ears of Zellwood corn, a tureen of gopher gumbo, hold the okra and rice, topped with a fresh quail egg and slices of Ruskin tomatoes. The feast is finished with sweet fritters made from Kunti flour dough, fried in bear fat and drizzled with Wiwa Hitchka Tupelo honey, crowned with boiled peanuts from Jay. Clutches of fresh picked soursops, guavas, and persimmons, tied together by vanilla beans and tamarind pods, hang from the Pecky cypress rafters. Ghost orchid wine plucked from a big cypress slough, sipped from a giant sloth skull, unearthed in Bone Valley Reliquary, finished Florida's real Last Supper. Geography and climate may be destiny, but the appearance of key lime pie, chicken purloo, and whole hog barbecue was anything but inevitable in Florida. And the story of Florida Foodways is how do these foods come from the New Worlds, and also items I mentioned such as tomatoes and potatoes were never consumed here in pre-Columbian Florida. These also made their migrations here later. Fittingly, poetically, this is a montage. Actually, a couple days ago, I was in Ponte Vedra, and they were having a food festival, and one of my grad students did this kind of Florida food fantasy scene there. A little map here. The map, I'm going to go through. This scene here. Professor Deegan talked about Jacques Lemoyne last night, and interestingly, the subject of barbecue, if you want to unite a crowd, barbecue is a seductive topic. And the conventional wisdom is, well, barbecue, like everything else, like Yankees and air conditioning, kind of rolled into Florida from someplace else. Interestingly, the word barbacoa comes from a Caribbean word describing not the process of cooking, but rather the spits, the wooden spits there. So the word barbecue is a New World indigenous description. And Lemoyne, again, as Kathleen talked about this, we don't know how accurate this is. It's unclear. There's an interesting new biography of Lemoyne, and we're not sure whether Lemoyne, how many etchings he escaped with when he returned to Spain, and then what Theodore de Brie, a Flemish Protestant engraver, how he embellished these. But nonetheless, this is an inviting scene of fish and reptiles and rodents roaring in a fire there. And you can see the later, this is a 1950s barbecue, I believe in St. Augustine, by the way. Look at all the ribs there. Fountain, I'm going to go through this. By the way, we would have concluded that dinner if you wanted to stay up for all 24 hours with a copious amount of casina, the black drink, which would have been appropriate. And again, you can see Lemoyne's softer side on the left as well as getting back, since we haven't really introduced it, but getting back to the whole question of the Fountain of Youth. Now, here's my take on this. I think Professor Francis, this drives him crazy. But yes, I accept the Fountain of Youth is pure myth. But to me, what's more interesting is if you consider what the Spanish encountered in the New World, the pure natural wonder of the New World, mammals far more interesting and larger than anything found in the Old World. Natural springs, the like found nowhere else in the world. The Iguazu Falls, snakes with castanets on them, electric eels, toucans. This is really more amazing to me than the idea of a fountain of youth, the pure abundance of the New World. The horse also introduced to the New World. This is from the University of Florida Museum of Natural History. But if you've never been to Pine Island and Mount Key down there, it's pretty amazing. The idea, I think 50 years ago in archaeology, was you couldn't have a civilization, a Native American civilization, without agriculture. And the Calusa Indians, by sheer abundance of protein, especially seafood and wildlife there, built this hierarchical society, which was pretty amazing. Fishing in Florida, the ranchos, this is on St. John's River, they're harvesting shad in the 19th century. Now, are those amazing Florida lobsters there? I mean, wow. And be prepared if you're a turtle hugger, you won't like these. Governor Charlie Johns of Stark enjoying Florida oysters here. This is from a child's novel about 1900. And the artist obviously had never seen a manatee before, but in fact manatee was also eaten not just by Native Americans. Andrew Canova, there's actually a site on the East Coast, I think in Volusia or Brevard County, named for him. In his memoir, he talks about, he says, quote, "A manatee, roast manatee is about as delicious as the finest Tennessee steak I have ever eaten." Turtles on the docks of Key West.